Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by for another video. This week I wanted to return to one of my favorite pilot leaders. I haven't made a video on him in a while. So I wanted to do a take on Kazuda that I hadn't seen yet. And I've been having a lot of fun with this leader, or this combination I should say. And I thought I would share this with you. So first off, I hope everybody had a great new year. Hope everybody's doing good. Just wanted to say thanks for all the support in 2025 and thanks for stopping by in 2026 as well too. This first video, I decided to take a chance with this just because I like this leader a lot. And I've been pretty pleasantly surprised, I have to say, so far with this. And before we get in, just wanted to ask if you could please like and subscribe, just get that out of the way. If you don't mind, if you do mind, no problem. Don't worry about it. Not a big deal. I'm doing this mostly for fun anyway. But let's go over Kazuda and see what we get with him. And he's cool because he's kind of a weird leader, and anybody that knows me knows that I kind of like my weird leaders. Anyway, Kazuda Xiono is a 4 deploy leader. It has an action where we can exhaust him, and a friendly unit loses all abilities for this round. Take an extra action after this one. For those that aren't aware, and I'm sure most people do know this by now, is that this ability means that the unit that loses the ability cannot gain additional abilities as well here too. So that does kind of come into play at some point. It's more so in the red version where we've got things like Trench Run. It can't get that ability. Same thing with Heroic Sack. We don't really worry about that as much in this version, but it's still available. It's going to deploy on 4, and it's going to give our ship that we choose to pilot +3/+3, which is really, really great. If we deploy him to the ground, he's a 2/5, and when he attacks, he gets to blank any number of units that you have. So it's definitely much better once he's deployed, but just be mindful of opposing destroy and upgrade effects, because obviously they'll take him out as a pilot. And I'm just pairing this up with a 30 hit point base for now. Genicity is not worth it. We're not really running any force strategies, so this kind of seemed like the best one. I suppose you could do something like a Nabat Village if you really wanted to, but I don't really see the need. And let's dive in here and see what we've got. Going a little bit low to the ground, as Kaz is usually an aggressive deck. That's where I've had my most luck with him. At 1, we've got A-Wing, which is just a 1/2 with Raid 1. Pretty good 1-drop for space. Followed up by Cartel Turncoat, which is a 2/3 in space for 1, which is fantastic. But it has a bounty where your opponent gets to draw a card when it's defeated. We can turn this downside off with Kazuda, so it's not really that big of a risk for us. Republic Y-Wing, I just wanted to get a little bit more of a critical mass of 1-drops. So I've got 9 in here just to start. And this is just a 1-cost 1/3. I've got 3 copies of Hotshot DL-44 Blaster. This probably should be breaking in. I didn't realize that this said non-vehicle, so my bad. This should be breaking in. So feel free to replace that. It's going to be the 2-cost instead. We really don't have anything on the ground. If you want to keep this in to play with your pilots on the ground or Kaz on the ground, sure. Feel free, but this definitely should be breaking in. I've got 1 copy of the Anakin Skywalker Pilot. It's a 2-cost 2/3 if you do it on the ground, but we're primarily going to be using this as a pilot. Costs 2, and it gives +2/+3. When attached unit completes an attack and survives, you may return this upgrade to its owner's hand. If you know something is pretty heavily damaged and you want to just get the attack in, bring him back to your hand, and then play him again on something else, you can absolutely do that. He's very good at that. Of course, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Fireball. We can turn the downside off on this as well. 2-cost 3/3 with Ambush. Space, everything pretty much is going to be in space. When the regroup phase starts, deal 1 damage to this unit. We're going to use Kazuda's ability to negate that. So no problem there. We've got N1 Starfighter, just a 3/2 in space for 2 cost. It's just a good aggressively statted unit. We've got 3 copies of Surprise Strike. We just really want to push the damage in as quickly as we can. 2 cost event, attack with a unit. It gets +3/+0 for this attack. Just a great way to finish things off, or if you need to take out a unit, this is also good for that. Ebon Hawk has been pretty fantastic in here. I prefer it in dark side decks a little bit better, but with the light side, it's pretty good. On attack, we can disclose Heroism or Villainy. If you disclose Heroism, this unit gets +2/+0 for this attack. And if you disclose Villainy, you give the defender -4/-0. I mixed these up. Apologies. I'd rather have this in a heroic deck because it just makes more sense. This is a more aggressively slanted card. I just got them mixed up. Apologies for that. I'm running 1 copy of Millennium Falcon, and the reason why I'm only running 1 is I don't have a lot of double deploy pilots, and I just didn't really want to risk it. You could do something like Anakin and Kazuda on this just because this gives you 1. But in the sideboard, I do have a copy of R2 to really try to get as many pilots on this as possible. We'll kind of go over that later. We've got 3 copies of Millennium Falcon, another card that we can turn the downside off on. It's a 3 cost 3/4. This enters play ready, and when you ready cards during the regroup phase, you either pay 1 or return this unit to its owner's hand. We can just turn off that tax with Kazuda's ability. It's pretty fantastic. Sabine's Masterpiece is just really good. It's super annoying in this version because we're almost always going to get the Exhaust ability. But this is a 3 cost 3/3 on attack. The only thing we're going to really focus on is the Cunning, which is we can exhaust a resource if we want. And you'd be surprised how often that makes a difference, especially if we've got the initiative. We go in with this, we exhaust a resource, and now our opponent is essentially down a resource. It's pretty cool. We've got 3 copies of Stolen AT Hauler, just a good way to clear something. I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead of myself. 3 copies of Sanctioner Shuttle, 3 costs 2/3, and Coordinate. If we've got 3 units in play, we get to capture something that costs 3 or less. We almost always have Coordinate in here, so it's pretty much going to be safe to capture something that costs 3 or less with this. Stolen AT Hauler, I kind of jumped the gun. This is an understated, overpowered card. 3 cost 4/5 in space. When defeated, choose an opponent. For this phase, they may play this unit from its owner's discard pile for free. We can turn the downside off with Kazuda on this, so it's just, I mean, unless your opponent claims the initiative and does something to defeat this, sure, they've got it. But we've got ways that we can return it to our hand if we need to, coming up in just a bit. Next up, we've got Blue Ace, and I think everybody's pretty excited about this card. 4 cost 4/5 in space with Ambush. On attack, you get to ready an exhausted enemy unit. Most of the time, that text is not going to do anything. You can ready the thing that we're going to defeat and just take it out, and it's fine. One of the other cool things is that after you get that initial attack in with the ambush, on the following turns you can Kazuda this and turn off and remove the abilities of this, and it just becomes a 4/5 for 4, which is pretty cool as well too. One of the big upsides for playing Double Yellow is Cunning, and the deck is just, this card is insane, so any excuse to sneak this in is fantastic. We're almost always doing the +4/+0 option with this. It's a 4 cost event. We get to choose 2 in any order. Return a non-leader unit with 4 or less power to its owner's hand. We can use this if somebody takes control of our Stolen AT Hauler. So if they do play it, we can use Cunning, and since this fits into the 4 power or less, we can return this to our own hand. Or you can give a unit +4/+0, or you can exhaust up to 2 units, or you can make an opponent discard a card at random. Usually it's the first 3 abilities that we're going to be playing with in some kind of capacity, usually +4/+0 and exhaust. Sometimes it's the bounce where we return something to the hand. But it's just a fantastic card, and it's super nice to be able to utilize it here. I've got 3 copies of Han Solo. It's 5 cost, 4/5 on the ground with ambush, but we're not playing it in the ground arena. We're playing it for the piloting, and the piloting is 2 cost +2/+3 as an upgrade. And when played as an upgrade, you may attack with attached unit. If it is the Millennium Falcon, it deals combat damage before the defender. So we get that classic shoot first ability with Han, and we get to attack right away. So it's kind of like another surprise strike. I've got 1 copy of Legacy Run in here, and this is just a hedge against opposing space decks where we can just hopefully take everything out with the Legacy Run. At 5 cost, I just have 1 in here. There's another one in the sideboard as well too, but just a hedge against space decks. And I've got 2 copies of the Mandalorian in here, and primarily I do play this in space. However, it can be played on the ground in a pinch. And why I say that is the ability is pretty great. And if it's a close race and we just need to lock the opponent's 2 best units down, sometimes it's right to play him on the ground and just exhaust 2. But we'll read the card. It's 5 cost, 5/6 as a ground unit. When played, we get to exhaust up to 2 ground units. So that is huge. Again, if we're losing a race, this is a good way to just kind of stop it right in its tracks. You just exhaust their 2 best cards. And notice on here it doesn't say non-leader, so we can exhaust a leader with this as well. It does have piloting for 2, gives the unit +3/+1, and we get to exhaust an enemy unit in this arena. It's going to be space. So it's great either way. Sometimes you will use it on the ground just to kind of slow things down a little bit. Sideboard, 2 copies of Confiscate because it's just overall good against anybody that's using any powerful upgrades. The extra copy of R2 in the side here is primarily for the Falcon if you really want to utilize more pilots, and if your opponent is not playing a lot of targeted removal, this is a good card to bring in where we can kind of stack up, and if you want to call it Voltroning your Falcon up, you can just put a couple of pilots on there and it just becomes extra beefy. Contracted Hunter is a good way to get rid of cards on the ground that are being a pain. 3 cost 4/4 with ambush. When the regroup phase starts, you get to defeat this unit. If you really needed to bring in a deck that was trying to run you out of cards like the mill strategy and want to bring these all in, you can still knock this ability out with Kazuda. So if you want to bring this in and just have a little bit of a ground presence, you can do that and turn its abilities off with Kazuda so it doesn't get defeated during the regroup phase. 2 copies of Waylay. Waylay is just a good card and just makes your opponent replay their biggest threat for the most part. 1 more copy of Legacy Run in case we're running into some space deck that is really annoying. You could also bring this in against aggressive decks if you really want to, but we don't really have a way to get this to be defeated. So primarily it's going to be against opposing space decks. And I've got the 3rd copy of the Mandalorian in here. So apologies here, I think I loaded the wrong deck list because I did change this. This is supposed to be breaking in. So I'm sorry for the mix-up here, but this is the deck. It has been a lot of fun, for sure. Definitely recommend giving it a try. I will update the deck list, so when it gets posted, you'll have the correct information on there as well, too. Otherwise, I just wanted to say thanks again for all the support in 2025, and I look forward to 2026, getting some cool lists out there, sharing them with you. If there's anything that you're looking for in particular, feel free to leave something in the comments. Let me know what you're looking for. Maybe we can work on a deck together and we can go from there. But May the force be with you, my friends. Hope that you're doing well. Hope that your New Year's was great. And take care. Be well, everybody.